Hello, everyone. This is Angela from the podcast, The Food Apothecarie, food that heals your soul. In today's podcast, I have a really special guest, Jaime Raygoza. Actually, Dr. Jaime Raygoza, who has recently completed his doctorate and is more than passionate about his career. He is my coach, my friend, my guide. He has helped me to figure out how to do a better podcasting. He has helped me to live a better life, find solutions. He offers laughter yoga, online public training, and so much more actually. Not only that, but he has his own podcast, Finding the Unicorn in You, which will be linked within this podcast. In this podcast, we talked about how to develop habits, what make people do bad things, and how can you prevent them. So please tune in for a really knowledge-worthy episode. Hello, Jaime. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. Well, thank you for taking time today to come to the show. So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is my name is Dr. Jaime Raygoza. I got a little excited there. I am a doctor in psychology, so I'm not like the surgeon doctors, with a focus of human and organizational psychology. I studied employee retention and turnover in the social work field, child welfare, and human services fields. I started with my journey, I guess, when I was in high school. I really liked criminology and like detective work, and I really wanted to do something like that. Of course, later my dream got broken when I found out, excuse me, I needed to do a whole police academy in order to do that, and I can barely do a push-up to save my life. So I was like, that's not going to work out for me. So I ended up doing sociology with an emphasis in criminology. So I studied family, domestic violence. I studied drug addiction, how prisoners act in the prison cells based on the sociological aspect and psychological aspects. And that just really got me into kind of casework and social work, because noticed all the problems that people were having, and some of those I was able to kind of relate with when it came to abuse and trauma and all the negative aspects. So in a sense, even though that wasn't my original thought process, it really opened up my mind. And one of the common themes that I noticed was that a lot of people were consistently burnt out in their jobs. And every single job that I worked at, people will go in super excited and energetic, and a year later, they were just like this empty vessel walking, and they were so burned out. The light in their eyes just was like dimmed out, and they would just quit and go on to the next job, get excited, and turn into an empty vessel again. So I wanted to really break that cycle. And that's why I seeked more studies. I did public administration to really see how the infrastructure worked, and to see if I can change the system from the top bottom. And I went into my doctorate degree to really study more and more about this burnout and why people quit and why people stay at their jobs. I got certified as a life coach to be able to get more details on the one-on-one perspective. And now I work as a consultant and as a life coach, helping businesses with their employee retention issue, and then also with individuals to really focus on reducing burnout through time management and organizational skills.
Okay, so that's quite an introduction, actually. We need to break down each and every role of you, but
Okay.
not obviously that's not possible today. But tell me, so you talked about psychology, like why people behave a certain way, like staying on the job or quitting, and even like in criminology. So me, I'm more interested right now in criminology. Tell me why people commit crimes.
So it's not what people think. So a lot of people think naturally that there's this intrinsic good and bad, that people do things because they are purposely trying to hurt other people. However, when you really think about the motives of why people do things, they're making the best decision that they can based on what they know at that instance. So let's put it towards a criminal who is trying to rob a bank. They don't know how to get the money to solve whatever problem they're having. It could be paying rent, it could be paying some medical bills. What if something, maybe their daughter, significant other, is suffering from a terminal illness and they need the money for the medication or for the treatment. And it comes out of a sense of desperation where they start thinking outside of the law. What can I do to solve this issue based on the tools I have now? So they may choose to break the law because in their mind, it makes sense to break one law to save a life.
Wow. So just breaking one law would give them their dream life, like, or let's say the life they must have designed in their head for themselves.
Yeah, and they justify it in whatever action they may be. Sometimes when people try to break into somebody's house, they justify doing one action to whatever they're doing. So they don't really see themselves as a bad person because they're justifying it as I'm doing this one action to be able to save or to fix whatever problem I'm having. And it's like a bigger action. So they truly don't feel that they're doing something bad. They may have a sense of guilt, but they are justifying it
Yeah.
like to make as a good action based on what their circumstances.
So it's more like, oh yeah, I'm breaking into somebody's house because I couldn't find a job for 3 months and I had no option.
Exactly. Exactly. And you see more and more of this crime rate, the more poverty escalates and
Mhm.
inflation and everything that's going on, the crime rates also increase because people are trying to justify these actions out of desperation because it's really hard to get a job right now. It's really hard to get increases. You have the average, like I'm speaking from the United States perspective, you have the average American working 2 to 3 part-time jobs working over 120 hours a week just to be able to make the bare minimum to feed their family, to pay rent, to be able to pay gas. And they're working these extreme amount of hours to the point where we break the person, they get burned out. They don't know what else to do. They get tired of this cyclical problem that every single week, no matter how hard I try, I still keep creating less and less money because I keep getting laid off. They cut my hours, whatnot, and then you get these very rude customers that are just pushing the boundaries and
Mhm.
spitting at your face, treating you with disrespect. And you're like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. So why not me break into someone's home, steal their valuables, sell it online? And that's an easier way of me providing for my family, for myself, without enduring all of this abuse from doing what capital America is requiring me to do.
So the problem is a little bigger than we think.
Oh, yeah, and a lot of it's easier for us to scapegoat and tell, like, these people are just bad, and that's what social media and the news media portray, is these people are just horrible people, they're bad, and they even go to the extent to instill racism into it, saying, like, this specific gender, this specific ethnicity is bad because they're the ones commonly doing this, but then we also have institutionalized racism where certain communities, certain ethnicities are given less privileges and less chances than their counterparts. And then we then use them as also saying like they're also the perpetrator because those are the hands that you were given to them. And then they say, well, if you just work harder or if you just do like actually try, but you can't really try when you're trying to just live paycheck to paycheck and you don't have the same access to education, the same access to money, the same access to investments, or even the knowledge to do that when the institution has been set that way, if that makes sense.
Okay. So what are we saying is that some people are just set up to be a failure, set up for a failure because this is how I guess the world is working now by like putting, the richer is getting richer, poor is getting poorer day by day.
Yeah. And I'm going to give you a perfect example. So in my high school, I started with 4,000 freshmen when I enrolled, 4,000 of us.
Okay.
Senior year, only 400 of us graduated.
What happened?
4,000 to 400.
3,600.
Yes, dropped out. So unfortunately, some of them passed away because they got into gang violence. Some of them got into severe car accidents. Life happened and some of them passed away. I don't know what the percentage of it is, but I just remember receiving a newsletter with like, oh, this person passed away this week. And we're like, oh wow. So I did receive a few of those throughout time in my high school. Another portion of them got pregnant because there was really bad like contraceptive information in my high school. We really didn't got taught about like family planning and things of that nature. We didn't have access to condoms or other contraceptives. So unfortunately, my peers got pregnant due to misinformation and They dropped out because it was really hard for women to finish school and also take care of their young. We didn't have resources for teenage parents back then, and even now it's still scarce. So even their counterparts, the males, also had to kind of drop out to support and start working to be able to pay for the new child and things like that. So they never finished graduating. And then other people, it was they weren't given the right tools to
Mm.
succeed. So they may have had some developmental delays such as ADHD, ADD, autism that we didn't have any diagnoses or any type of screeners. They just called you stupid or put you in slower classes and then just said good luck. So these kids were not given the right tools to succeed. So they would get frustrated and drop out. I know specifically my high school, our mascot was a Don. So it's like a matador.
Mhm.
And they placed us into houses my freshman year. It was the D house, the O house, the N house, and the S house. They didn't tell us, but we figured out their formula. The D house were their A students, the AP students, the honor students. The O house was the second level. The third house was the third level. And the S house was considered S for stupid house. So it was the house with the lowest performing grade level students, and they all got placed in the same classrooms. So they all had the same cohort of students. They had teachers that kind of had self-fulfilling biases. So if you were an S teacher, you knew that everybody in there was going to underperform. So they stopped caring, they stopped trying, they stopped teaching them valuable lessons because they felt like you're going to end up dropping out anyways. So the people who actually graduated were for students from D house, O house, and some from N house. Majority of the S house ended up leaving and not continuing because of that instilled bias that was inputted in the institution. And that's what I meant. I was a D house. Fortunately, I was put there and I was surrounded by very competitive peers that were like very strong willed. And because of that, I was able to kind of get inspired. And it was a fluke. They told me that I was supposed to be in the N house, but they made an administrative mistake
Okay.
and I got put in D house by accident. And it was already late because they didn't want to switch me out. So technically, my life could have been drastically different if I was placed in that N house because I would have had teachers that cared less about me. But because I was placed in that D house, I had this. I didn't think I was a D student in middle school.
Mm.
I would receive D's and C's. So I was never used to people believing in me before they received the result. So they were like, "You can do this. It's okay. This is not that hard." And they would sit down and teach me. And it was really interesting for me to see, like, wow, like, I wonder what they were trying to get out of me because they're actually invested in my education. Like, I'm not used to this. People were just saying, you're going to fail. And because you saw the drastic difference, because even though I was in the D house with D teachers, I was given an N house counselor.
Okay.
My counselor from day one told me, I saw your grades from middle school. Thanks for being here. And I just want to let you know from the get go, it's okay if you don't graduate. It's okay if you just drop out and go into McDonald's. There's no shame in that. If that's the best you can do, then that's the best you can do. You have to understand that we need McDonald's workers like you to be there in order to make the world go round. Not everybody gets to be, high skill individuals. So just get married with the idea that this is probably the best you're going to do with your track record. I would get that information and talk to my teachers. Oh, they would be pissed off. And they'd be like, this is not the life you should live. And because of my mentors as teachers and that disparity, I was able to get up to my doctorate degree because they believed in me. So then I started believing in me. So that's kind of what I'm talking about, that we set institutional like oppressors that allow some people to succeed and some to not.
Wow. It's really sad that, first of all, you put all of them together. Then, second, you don't even believe in them. You don't even make an effort for them to succeed just because you think we need a McDonald's worker.
Mhm.
You know, I, I don't know. I really don't know. Like, just because your future is just being handled by maybe 7 people on the team,
Mhm.
and that's it. Then you're decided. But I'm so thankful that you got put into different classes.
Me too. Me too. That was the best administrative error they could have potentially done for me.
Yeah, it's good that you got in there. And then, but honestly, I don't think it's all about that. It's about you believing in yourself. And then because your high school teacher didn't stay with you until you got a doctorate,
No, very true. Very true.
you know?
A lot of them told me you have so much potential in getting to that level. And because of their beliefs, I started believing it myself.
Right.
There's a saying in psychology, tell a lie several times, eventually it becomes a truth.
Yes.
So if you tell yourself you are successful over and over and over again, even if you haven't had success yet, you're going to start seeing success because you're telling yourself that information. The opposite is also true. If you're successful, but you tell yourself you're a failure over and over and over again, you will start failing. This is called the self-fulfilling bias.
Yeah. That's really cool. Okay, so Mr. Doctor, or should I say Mr. Jaime, or should I say Doctor? I don't know.
I misfind.
Okay. I'll just stick to doctor. So, doctor, tell us, how can, since you worked with so many different professions, you said, like, you were a social worker, you were a caseworker, you have done now life coaching, and then you have seen people going through burnout and getting excited to go to jobs. Just give an idea. Is discipline gets you where you want to be, or is it motivation according to the brain?
Discipline. So a lot of people think that you need to be motivated to do things. However, through discipline creates motivation. You need to do the thing that you want to do to get motivated to do the thing. You're not going to get motivated to make an action and then suddenly start getting into the pace of things. You need to be disciplined and tell yourself, I'm going to work on this today, every single day, and set micro goals to achieve that. There's a book called Atomic Habits, and where it speaks about doing very minuscule steps to be able to get towards your goal. If you think about it that way, life gets a little bit easier. I'm going to give you like a really big example. So I had a friend, I believe he was here, and his name was Rolando.
Yeah.
He ran a 26-mile marathon,
Yes.
and he didn't just do that out of the blue. He was started running every single day. And I was working with him and not working with him, but I was talking with him as he started doing all of that. And he told me that he started running 2 to 3 miles a day. And then all of a sudden he started running 5 miles a day, and then 7 miles a day, 13 miles, until he finally reached 26. But he gradually went there. Let's say me, a person that can barely do a push-up without walking down the stairs and start heaving. If I wanted to do that, I need to start by walking 5 minutes a day. Saying, I'm going to start today just walking around the block for 5 minutes. Tomorrow, let's do 6 minutes. The next day, let's do 7 minutes. But microly increasing it every single day, but making it achievable. Because if you start having those small little wins, your brain starts getting that dopamine rush because you're proud of yourself. The opposite is also true. Let's say you said, I'm going to do 30 minutes today, and you were only able to do 25 because you were so tired, because you've never done it before. Then you have the like other neurological impulses in there that says, wow, I'm a failure. I suck. I couldn't even do 30 minutes today. What's the point of me doing this? Then you give up. Those people who try to go on meal prep, and they just give up fast food altogether. And they give up all these foods that are their favorite foods. They create an unhealthy relationship with food. And then they forget, they make all these meals, and then they're rushing out of the door and they forgot their lunch at home. All of a sudden, you're like, wow, I did this to myself. That was probably me doing it on purpose. I'm such a failure. What's the point of me doing this? You go get McDonald's, you come home, and you give up because you messed up. But no, you have to be able to do little things, micro level things. So instead of changing your whole diet, let's replace one of our meals. Let's say if you always have fries when you're going to like fast food. Okay, go get your fast food, but this time maybe get a cup of fruit instead of the fries.
Yeah.
Have your whole meal, but then you're substituting something healthy. You're reducing the carbs, you're reducing the amount of grease and sugars that you're getting in, but you're replacing with something with fiber and things of that nature. And maybe instead of eating the whole burger, eat half of the burger.
Yeah.
It's stuff that are easy to do that are small wins for you.
Mhm.
And once you start creating those into habits, start stacking other habits with them. Let's say that you cut the burger in half. Now you have 2 meals, one for breakfast, one for lunch, or whatever it is, or like lunch for tomorrow. And then now you are eating half of the calories. You're already like eating that, right? And then you're like, oh, well, I'm already meal prepping. Why don't I just buy another one and then just do this for the whole week? And then you're eating it that way. And then you're like, well, I've already meal prepped for a whole week. Why don't I try actually cooking and trying that next week? And then you start having like stacking it and start doing that little by little. So just trying the little things, but you need to be very disciplined with yourself.
Mhm.
But just discipline is a really strong word. And a lot of people think I have to be strict. I need to be radically strict. Discipline is something so minuscule. It's just consistently doing something to better the outcome of what you want to do. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be radical. Being disciplined can be very small.
Yeah, I think when people hear discipline, they think army stuff, military stuff. Like you get up at
Mhm.
4 p.m. or you go train and then you do that and all that. Yeah, I see the conception. I think it's everybody's discipline in the head, like the plays different role. Because for me, let's say I imagine Apple like this big, ring, and then it's like full of juices. Maybe when you imagine Apple, it's like half red, a little yellowish on the side. So it really depends how you see it.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that you said, which was really interesting to me, okay, that your mind gives you that bad talk, like, hey, you suck, you blah, blah, blah. So I have seen that, okay, this is about the people who follow or let's say make or whatever, these videos that say, oh yeah, if it hurts, that means it's working, go out and do it more, you know? you know?
Mhm.
Could you please shed a little bit of light about that? Like, how does that come into play?
So before we go into that, I have a question for you. So you're aware of ants, right? Like just like these little critters that as soon as you put something sweet,
Yeah.
you may see one crawling around,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
What happens if you don't do anything to it? And let's go back to your apple. You leave a piece of apple on your countertop and you
Mhm.
see one ant. What happens if you leave it alone?
There will be more.
Okay, like in the hundreds, right? They're going to
Yeah.
be like swarming
Yes.
into that one piece of apple core.
Yes.
There's this phenomenon called ants, automatic negative thoughts.
Okay.
If you get one negative thought that comes into your head and you leave it alone, you're going to get a swarm of them multiplying in your head. So, what you need to do is be able to say them out loud, write them down, and really counteract that idea of that negative thought of whatever you're going through. Because if not, you're going to be filled with all these negative thoughts in your head. They're going to tell you that you're a failure, that you can't succeed things, that you can't do things. And depending on how you grew up, you get instilled with different cultural norms, different societal norms, institutional norms, and telling you that it is good to feel certain things. I know when you're weightlifting and when you're working out, you're going to feel some pain. That's normal because you're actually ripping your muscles apart in order for them to get back together and grow. And that's a painful process that we do to our bodies to get fitter, but it is going to help you in the long run. However, if you're in constant pain where you're not able to move, then you're going maybe too hard, too fast, and you're putting your body into shock, which you're going to go again with. You're going to end up stopping to do this because you have an adverse reaction to what you're feeling, and you don't want to feel that the rest of your life. Because if you're sitting in bed, you're like in a catatonic state, you're like, I can't move. Is this how my life is going to be? You're going to be like, no, because I like the mobility. I like to be I need to be flexible. I like to just be able to walk around without always feeling sore, but you don't know if this is going to be permanent or if it's just a now thing. So I think also lack of knowledge in whatever you're thinking it will go in there, but just really counterbalancing those negative thoughts as they come through by voicing them out, talking with a friend, journaling, vlogging, writing a podcast on it, whatever it may be, to get them out of your head. I don't know if I answered your question or if I went in on tangent.
No, it was good. But my thing is like, what do you think about, do you think these motivation videos would help you to go like, let's say 25, when you're at 25, then go for another 5 minutes. Would that help you? Or was it like, how do I say, instant dopamine, like, that would last only for that day?
Okay, so motivational videos help in that instance if you want to get out of your head.
Okay.
It's not a long-term solution. And same thing as you were saying earlier, if somebody's saying like you have to push through the hurt, you need to be better, and like really the tough love doesn't work with everyone. Something we have to understand is every person has different levels of motivation. And this is something that I researched in my dissertation was Douglas McGregor and William Auchi were one of the big building blocks of motivation, along with Maslow, the Maslow hierarchy of needs. And Douglas McGregor created theory X and Y of motivation, and William Auchi made theory Z. Well, all of these basically stated that people have different level of motivators. Some people need micromanagement and constant reminders in order to be successful. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people need that constant coach or therapist or teacher or mentor to be on behind them to push them forward because they need that codependence. Those are theory X individuals. Theory Y individuals are more intrinsically motivated. They feel that they have everything they need inside them. All you really need to do is give them the tools once and they'll run with it. They're going to be your type A individuals who are just very self-driven. They create their own motivation by being disciplined. And then there's type Z individuals who are more community-based. Mm-hmm. You can't do it alone, and you don't like one person pushing you. You need a community to be with you, doing the same goals in order for you to persevere together. So that sense of like, it takes a village to shape a person is what they kind of like, that clan culture to help them thrive.
Yeah, okay. Unfortunately, not everybody has access to all these resources.
Yes. It can be very hard, but that's why you see some people thriving. And you may see some friends that are like, I went to a Zumba class and I loved it because it was such a big community. These are type Z individuals who they're like, yes, I love the community feeling of everybody doing everything in unison. It gives me motivation. But then you go and you're maybe a type X and you're like, I hated that. I did not like all that human interaction. I prefer being one-on-one with the instructor, and that will give me motivation to do this every day, getting that personal coach. And then you'll have a type like Y individual that you're like, I don't need any of this. Just put the music and I'll dance on my own. So you just have to find out what is your motivator, what type of person are you, X, Y, or Z, and then how can you use that information to then put yourself in a place to best put you forward to achieve whatever goal you're trying to get into.
Wow. I think I'm X actually.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of X individuals start off as X and you eventually turn into a Y individual. And know that just because you start off in one doesn't mean that you need to stay in that category. We evolve every single day to be able to go, but you need to start off somewhere. And if you just need a mentor or coach to get you started, that's perfectly fine. Doesn't mean that you're weak or you're lesser than. It just means you have a certain need that specific person can achieve at this point in time.
I think it was, for me, it's always been like, I just need one person to be on my side. Be a best friend, be it a coach or whatever, the person you can go to. Okay. Thank you for that. But another thing that I want to ask, because I don't feel like it's a good place to end this podcast. So I'm going to bring it further.
Okay.
So we talked about atomic habits and building small steps to get to the bigger goal. Let's say if somebody fell short, somehow something happened, in their life, because life happens, and then they couldn't keep up with their 3 mile goal every day. And the situation was like out of hand, maybe for a few weeks they couldn't do it. What would you suggest those people?
They need to be comfortable with failing. The only way you're going to succeed is if you fail first. And that sounds counterproductive because you're like, well, how am I going to succeed if I keep failing? But the only way you learn and you stimulate your mind is by doing something wrong, learning from it, adapting from it, and then trying again the next day to do something better. So, whenever you fail or fall short on doing a certain habit or activity, ask yourself, write everything down of what you did that day and what led to that failure.
Right.
What caused you to fall short that day? Maybe you just had so much on your plate that day. You had a really hard day emotionally. You might have had a fight with your partner. Maybe you had a fight with your roommate. Your dog ended up peeing all over your apartment. Whatever it may be, it just messed up your routine, your mental state, and you had an off day. Ask yourself, was this truly because of me? Or was there just a lot going on right now that was out of my control?
Right. Okay.
If it's out of your control, then why are you putting so much pressure on you to be perfect and so much pressure on you for not doing that task that day? If it's out of your control, there's nothing you could have potentially done to solve it. So just brush yourself off, try again, restart tomorrow. If it was an accident because of you, let's say that you decided to watch Netflix for 5 hours and catch up on that show that you've been putting off, then we can ask ourselves, okay, what could I have done differently so that I can reach the desired outcome that I wanted? So then embrace that failure because that was in your control and ask yourself, okay, what went wrong here? Well, I got overly excited about this Netflix show, and know your habits. So if you know that you're one of those binge watchers that you can't start a show and then stop, don't set up yourself for failure. If you know that that's your habit and you already understand that's how you are, then do the run before the show, not after the show, because you already know what the consequence is. Perfect example. I'm not a morning person. I love my sleep. If I set an appointment for myself before 10 o'clock, I most likely, especially on a weekend, I most likely won't go because I'm going to be sleeping.
Yeah,
And
that
if I
happened to us, remember?
That did happen to us. That did
Yeah.
happen to us.
Yeah.
And that's why we decided to do it later because
Yes.
I kept missing the appointments because I was setting myself up for failure.
Yes.
And the thing is that if you already know how your body works, work towards your benefits, your talents. I'm a night owl. I can stay up to like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning working on things. So if I know that, I shouldn't probably set tasks for me in the morning. So learn your habits and work around what you're good at. Excuse me. A lot of us think that because an influencer says, I start my day at 5 a.m. every single day, I do my yoga, I do my meditation, I run 10 miles, all before 9 o'clock. And we're like, damn, I'm a failure because I don't get up till 10. No, it just means that you start what they did right when you wake up. Do what you need to do all in that instance or throughout the day, but manage what you need to do based on your routine, your body clock, what you're doing. And then once you reevaluate all of this stuff, put it back into why did I not succeed in this habit? Was it because I set up myself for failure? It was out of my control, or it was just failed planning. If one of the biggest reasons people fail is because they fail to plan. So, like I said, if you really want to watch that show, then be disciplined and do the activity that you want to accomplish first, and then reward yourself after by watching the show. That way, you don't feel guilt.
You blew me away. And there are a few shows that if I start watching, I can't stop.
Oh, same. Same.
Yeah. There are a few shows, not every show. There are a few shows that I can't stop watching. But yeah, it's good to know that, like, just kind of, I guess it's just kind of like a little friction. Oh, I really want to do this. But then again, my favorite show is on.
Hmm.
It's kind of like choosing what's important,
Exactly.
who's important more, this or that. So, well, I really want to deep dive into another topic, but I think that's for another day. I wanted to know, you mentioned influencers. I really hope we meet again and then we
Hmm.
can dive into influencing, like how people get influenced so easily.
Yeah, definitely.
Nowadays age, like you said, influencer said it. I woke up at 3, it could be 7 p.m. outside.
Yeah, and don't take things seriously because not everything that you see on social media is real. Some of that has been staged to be that way.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And it's just like, how do I say? And it's not true. Like they did all those things in one morning. Could be multiple mornings they have been shooting things to do it.
And even if they did all of that day, doesn't mean that they do that every single day.
Yes. Yes, for sure. Not everybody can wake up at 4 a.m. unless
Oh
you
yeah,
sleep at 8 p.m.
exactly.
Okay. Thank you so much for today's show. And I hope we do another one soon because you have a lot to share.
Of course, it was a pleasure. And let me know. I'll come on anytime. And I love talking to you. So thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. I'm gonna stop. So this was today's podcast, and I hope you enjoy it. If you want to get in touch with Dr. Jaime Raygoza, please go to his website, raygozaconsulting.com, and you can read all about his podcast, his blog, and Unicorn Wall of Fame, where you will see my picture soon because I was a guest on his podcast too. Not only that, he does have a discovery call, which is free for everybody. And he is running something really special right now, which is work-life balance workshops. He's helping you to reduce anxiety, helping you to find better opportunities in your career and all that. So please switch to his website. And I would say get in touch with him. He can change your life. Thank you so much. Have a good day.